Hi, I'm the Highlander, and welcome to our C++ tutorial series. I'm excited to start this. I've thought long and hard about what I want to say and what I want to do. There's many subjects to go over, so let's just get started. Real easy and simple. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the whys and hows in this video, and just show you what I'm planning to do and what it's going to look like. So I made a little channel introduction, and one of the most important aspects of that video, I think, was that programming, in my view, begins not in an editor typing code, but it begins in your head. It begins thinking of how you're going to solve a problem, and you have to think in terms of what the language has to offer. But how are you going to do that if you don't know what the language has to offer, or how to write it, right? So you have to know the syntax, and you have to know the constructs, basically. So that's what I aim to do, and that's why I'm beginning at the very basic level, which should be fun if you have no knowledge or little knowledge of C++. If you're very experienced, then this is not going to be for you, but my guess is that a lot of people are trying to get into it, but are finding the videos out there to be, just a little bit too difficult or too fast. So, why did I choose C++ as a starting point for tutorials in the first place? Well, what's important to know is that C++ is pretty old. I mean, it's been around for 40 years. And there are other languages that have been around for longer, but C++ is a very active language, which means that it gets regular updates. C++ is also a standardized language, which means that the International Standards Organization holds the C++ standard, and that is updated about every 3 years. The first version that was standardized was in 1998, and ever since then there have been versions. And I'll get back to that in a little bit, because that's going to be important to us as well. Another reason for choosing C++ is that it actually produces executables. It's not a scripting language. If I wanted to use PHP, or I wanted to use some other scripted language like JavaScript or whatever, I would need something else. I would need an environment for it to run in. This will just generate an executable, which I think is nice. C++ has a huge community of programmers. So if you're ever stuck, or I don't explain things well enough, or you want to know something, you can go on the internet and you go to Stack Overflow, and there's loads of people who have had the same problem you have had. You can go to Slack. You can go anywhere you like. You can buy books. There's many resources for you to find code, to find examples, just to find help when you're stuck. I do that a lot. I don't know everything, right? Nobody knows everything. I'm not what they call a language lawyer. And there are many people out there who can help you with whatever problem you have. C++ is available on loads of platforms. I'm going to be using the Windows platform for reasons I don't have all the other platforms available. Windows is, I think, the go-to platform for a lot of people. But if you want, you can use the same code on Linux. You can use the same code on Mac OS, or whatever other operating system is out there. C++ is supported on many, if not all of them. What is also good to know is that for C++, there's a load of tools available. Right? You're going to need an integrated development environment. You're going to need debuggers. You're going to need a profiler, perhaps. So you're going to need stuff that will help you write code. Now, the idea that you can open a text editor and do everything from the command line may be romantic, but you'll be coming back from that pretty soon, because to write code comfortably, you're going to need something to help you, right? A syntax highlighter, IntelliSense, which basically gives you a pop-up window for everything that you're typing, and if it's in some kind of context, it will help you select something. Is this what you mean? Is that it'll know about the libraries you have installed? It'll know about the language. So that is very, very helpful. To go back from that to no help at all is really difficult. So there's something to say for both things, but programming without help is basically chastising yourself for no real reason. So unless you like that kind of stuff. Also, C++ was built to be used for systems programming, for embedded programming. It's extremely versatile. You can find C++ in environments like the Unreal Engine or Unity or Godot or whatever environment. Is often the possibility to pick C++ as a language to develop in. It's not saying that it's better than C# or that it's better than any language. I'm just listing a couple of reasons why I think C++ is a good way to go. There's also downsides to choosing C++ because it can become very cryptic. The people who have created C++, they were the people that I always find that they want to be like mathematicians, right? If they have to choose a term for something, they will look to maths to figure out a name for something. So their dynamic array is called a vector, which is a very mathematical term, right? Their anonymous function is called a lambda, which a lambda in itself doesn't mean anything to me. But once you know these things in C++, you will find that many of these inventions are also available in other languages, and they'll be easier to spot and they'll be easier to understand. So you'll see that most languages have this effect. They all have the same challenges, and they all have the same kinds of solutions. But we'll get into all of that. There's a load of detail to cover. Now, to come back to the versions of C++, as I said, the first version was in 1998. It was the first standardized versions. After that, there was a new version in 2003. Then it took a while, and then there was one in 2011, 2014. 2017 was the last accepted standard, and the next standard to be accepted is the 2021. So as you can see, every 3 years there's an update to the language. Now, why is this important? Many of the programming techniques that made the C and the C++ programming language popular are now kind of frowned upon as a bad form. It's not that they don't work, but they're error prone, and they can lead to performance problems. So as time went on, they came up with all kinds of fancy things that the compiler does to help you, to either prevent you from making mistakes, or by optimizing things that you type in and the compiler just does it. And this can lead to really weird effects, as we will see. That makes teaching the language a little bit difficult because, because starting from the initial version of C++, what am I to do? Am I going to teach you all the wrong ways, and then later on tell you, this was old, so you don't do that anymore? So what I'm trying to do, I have several resources, right? I have resources that go back to the 1990s, and I have like the most modern resources written by the creator of C++, Bjarne Stroustrup, who is Danish, by the way. So what I intend to do is, as I come to the subject of pointers, for instance, or parameter calling, I will show you everything, right? I will show you the way that it was. I will explain why that leads to problems, and I will show you the way that it is done now. That may be a little bit advanced in some cases, but I will do it anyway, because if you're going to install a C++ compiler now, the chance is that you'll have the most modern compiler out there, and it may warn you about things, and you have to know about the most modern stuff. So that's the way I'm planning to go into this. I will be handling one or more topics, especially at the start. You know, the initial stuff is going to be pretty easy, so I'll just pick a few things. I will borrow from some good teachers that have taught me. I will look at the order in which they taught things, and I will cross-reference that with the more modern stuff, so that I'm sure that I'll cover everything, but not at a crazy pace. I'll be showing code, and I can show you what that looks like. This is Sublime. This is just an example. I'll be using Microsoft Visual Studio in the end, but I don't have that installed yet, right? I have nothing. I start out like you. So this is what that looks like. I also plan to use the whiteboard, so that I'll have something to write on. So that's kind of the way that I'm guessing I'll be able to show you the code, and I'll be explaining things and drawing pictures and that kind of thing. So, as I said, I start out with nothing like you. The next video will be about installing the tools to actually work. We're going to be using Microsoft Visual Studio Code first, and I'm going to install the command line compiler tools just to show you how that works and what the pitfalls are with that. And then I'm going to install the Microsoft Visual Studio environment because I'm sure a lot of you will be using that as well. So that's it for now. I will see you later, hopefully. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.